Mastery. We are able to learn from others, their rules, and how they conquered their art or struggles. Books. We talk about books that could be life-changing or heighten knowledge. That is, if life teachings, experiences don't lead you to that knowledge. The Black Viking gives us his books of knowledge.
Showing you about the world, like there's like even now, that's why The Prince is an amazing book, because it's relevant as much today as it was when it was written. But the point is, like when you grow up, when you're a child, and your parents, your teachers, the world in general, feeds you this vision of the world, which is bullshit. It's not real. Meaning, they tell you fairy tales, oh, don't lie, be all this stuff that they themselves break in the real world. So you're fed all these bullshit things, and then when you come of age, the world is just like, all right, now, this is forget everything you learned as a kid. This is the actual world. Adapt, So I think that's, and the thing is, and I think that's what Machiavelli did with it. What he really did was said, I'm not here to tell you how the world should be. I'm here to tell you this is how the world is, and this is how you function within it. Meaning, yes, people are capable of all the goodness and everything, but people are also spiteful, power hungry, greedy, and this is what they're also capable of doing. So, and I think you have to accept both. Whereas prior to Machiavelli, we just assumed that yes, man is good, all this, but no, man is like a being at war inside himself. There's a war, between good forces, the devil, and angels and God, and so yeah, that's why I love that book, because it showed me a different world at a time when, I would say I was coming out of childhood things, and then I was like, and then all of a sudden you realize, and this, you look at the world and you're like, something's not quite right. And then this man comes along who's lived 500-600 years before you and tells you this is why. This is how actually the world is. And it's an amazing book.
Friedrich Nietzsche.
Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche. The Antichrist. And it's not through, like, as soon as I say that, people always like, oh my God. I'm like, forget that. But the point is, he made some amazing, beautiful arguments in there. But the one that always stuck in my head, was like, this is especially within the Eritrean community, is not going to be, I accept that it's not going to be received well, but I don't really give a shit. So I'm going to just speak. But generally he says, okay, let's examine someone like Jesus Christ, okay? Now, if you examine what Jesus, how he's been, I'm not going to say Jesus himself because nobody really knew if he existed, and if he did, if he was actually, let's say what the church has portrayed him as, okay? So we're looking at a human being which is basically devoid of any sexual energy. He's a man. Let's not forget. You may say, but he's God, he's the Son of God. He's the Son of God, fine. But while he was on earth, in skin and bones, he was a man. And this was a man who was devoid of man, of sexual urges. He had no rage. He had no sexual desire. He had no, you take somebody like that and you put him in the world today and you examine him, what would we say about this person? He would be in a mental institution. And that's what Nietzsche was saying, is that these are not, it is not normal. And I'm not saying that Jesus should be, I'm saying that the church, the image that they've portrayed, I don't think that is the image, if this man existed, of him himself. Meaning, So, but it's an amazing book. Everyone should read it. And there's a few.
You said the Prophet as well.
By Nietzsche, there's a few. There's also the genealogy of morality, which is a good book. But the other book I said, Kahil Gibran, which is the Prophet. Yeah, I loved it. I love that book. I read it. That was the book, probably the first book that I've read of the three. And to be honest, it's just one is so poetic, and it taught me a lot when I say taught me, I'm not gonna say like I learned. I took the lessons on board, but I was never able to put them to practice, you know. And that doesn't say anything. It's more about me than that. But it's lessons that I've learned that I always strive for, you know. And it's so, for example, one main lesson is not to look at love like a possession, which unfortunately society tells you love is a possession. You know, meaning my girlfriend, my boyfriend, you know, my wife, my kids, my this, and everything is about possessing. Whereas, you know, but if you read the Prophet, you know, it's I mean, there's one analogy where he speaks about, you know, your children are not your own. You know, he says, you literally goes, they come from you, but they don't belong to you. You know, and he goes, they're merely like an arrow, and your body is like the bow, you know, shooting the arrow forth into the heavens, into the future, you know. But you can't tell them, you can't direct them no more than you could direct the arrow. I mean, you may point it in a certain direction, but after it escapes your hand, and the wind blows it, whatever, it can go wherever it desires, you know. And so I like to, I mean, yeah, it's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book. But also, I mean, there's other books by him, but that one was probably, yeah, the one that really caught me. I've read it so many times. I've gifted it to people, ex-girlfriends, like, always, yeah, beautiful.
Yo, I don't need a coach. I don't need advice.
Okay, all right, good talk, coach. Thanks.